Welcome to the enchanting tale of the Silver Grove, where a disgraced knight embarks on a journey through an enchanted forest, drawing together rival mercenaries in search of a mythical sanctuary said to grant immense power. As they venture deeper, the grove reveals their darkest fears and desires, weaving a rich tapestry of courage, camaraderie, and redemption. Join us as we traverse this mystical land filled with danger and discovery, all while you engage in your daily activities. Let the world of fantasy unfold around you, painting vivid images in your mind as you listen. Whether you're relaxing, working, or on the move, allow the magic of this story to transport you to a realm where unity triumphs over darkness. Sit back, relax, and act. As I stepped into the dimly lit entrance of the enchanted forest, I felt the oppressive weight of the trees surrounding me. They stood like ancient sentinels, their gnarled branches twisting towards the sky as if attempting to clutch it. It was here that the stories spoke of the Silver Grove, a sanctuary of power that many had sought but none had returned from. I shuddered at the thought of those lost souls, their fates sealed within the depths of this mysterious place. I was no longer the knight I once was. The disgrace that hung around my neck like a chain kept me from standing tall among my peers. The tarnished armor I wore was a reminder of my past failures. Yet now I found myself in the company of rival mercenaries, a motley crew of skilled warriors, each driven by greed and ambition. They were a bickering bunch, but desperation had bonded us, and I had no choice but to guide them through the heart of the forest. With each step, the atmosphere thickened. I sensed that the grove was watching us, its presence heavy and suffocating. It was unsettling how the trees seemed to shift, whispers weaving through the leaves that made it hard to distinguish reality from illusion. We pressed on, tension rising as rivalries flared up, particularly between Calder and Vesper, the two most skilled but headstrong members of our party. Their clashes echoed through the forest, punctuated by the mocking laughter of unseen spirits. As we ventured deeper, shadows danced in the twilight, twisting into shapes that stoked the fears we harbored. Each apparition was a reflection of our innermost struggles. I felt the creeping touch of dread as my past unfolded before me, visions of battles lost, comrades fallen, each moment gnawed at my spirit. I could see Calder wrestling with his conscience, flashes of betrayal brewing in his eyes as he faced his own demons. Vesper, on the other hand, fought against her longing for power, her ambition bleeding into something dark that I could sense erupting like a storm. It wasn't long before the grove unveiled another secret. As we camped for the night, I uncovered a deep connection between the land and its inhabitants. The whispers grew louder, coaxing me to confront my history. The forest was revealing not only the fears, but also the desires we had buried over the years. The knights I had once fought alongside began to appear to me as specters, their faces twisted in accusation. They were my shadows, and I could not escape them. Ultimately, we reached a clearing where the tree canopy opened to reveal the faint glimmer of moonlight. In its center, a massive tree stood, ancient and wise, a reminder of time long forgotten. It was the heart of the grove, pulsing with a rhythm that resonated in my bones. But as we approached, we discovered the cost of our desires could lead to peril. Visions of power flashed before us, and one by one, my companions fell into temptation, each faced with choices that revealed their true natures. Calder, consumed by his jealousy, attempted to seize a fragment of the forest's power. Vesper grappled with visions of grandeur, an overwhelming desire to dominate and never relent. In both cases, they chose paths that led them further into darkness, leaving me to confront not only the enemies in my crew, but the forest itself. The trees began to close in around us, their branches weaving into barriers that separated us from the way back. The grove's magic turned malicious, feeding on our despair and regret. I knew that if I did not act quickly, we would be lost forever, trapped in the web of our own making. At the climax of our confrontation, I realized the truth that resonated within Meth. True treasures we sought were not the riches promised by the Silver Grove, but rather redemption and the courage to face one's past. With a resolve I thought I had lost, I took a stand, calling my companions to join me in resisting the grove's corrupting influence. We fought against the darkness entwining us, and in doing so, we found a flicker of hope within ourselves. As dawn broke, the forest's enchantment began to wane. We emerged from the grove transformed. The weight of our burdens lifted, revealing a shimmering truth. We were not defined by our past, but by our choices in the present. In the end, we did not find the power we sought, but rather the strength to walk away. While we were wounded, scarred even, we faced a new beginning forged in camaraderie. Together, we left the Silver Grove behind, its whispers fading as we stepped into the dawn of a new day. It was a day of redemption filled with lessons learned. Facing one's past is essential to forging a better future. Though the Grove would forever remain a part of our story, it was the end of our journey in the shadow of its haunting trees. We finally had the chance to write our own chapters, free from the echoes of the past. As sunlight streamed through the trees, casting a warm glow upon our path, I could scarcely believe we had made it out. The whispering wind that had once chilled my bones now felt like a gentle caress, as if the forest itself acknowledged our survival. Each step I took felt lighter than the last, a far cry from the weight that had pressed down upon me in the grove. The memories of my fallen comrades who had become phantoms in the forest lingered in my heart but no longer held me captive. The group, battered and weary, trudged on, an unsteady bond forming between us through the shared struggle. We had ventured into the heart of darkness, and although none of us had returned with treasure in hand, we had unearthed something far richer: understanding and the rare gift of trust. As we navigated away from the grove, I stole glances at my companions. Calder remained sullen but not defeated, the battle within him gradually giving way to a resolve to seek genuine honor once more. Vesper walked with a newfound humility, her ambition tempered by lessons learned within the grove. Around midday, we reached a clearing that opened up to a glimmering lake, its surface reflecting the blue sky above with captivating clarity. The sight filled me with hope, reminding me that beauty existed beyond the suffocating darkness we had just escaped. I signaled for the group to rest, a collective agreement met with grateful nods. Laughter intermingled with the chirping of birds as we settled by the bank, and for the first time on our journey, it felt as though we could breathe freely. As we lounged by the water, I took the opportunity to share my own story, the disgrace that had haunted me. I spoke of the battle that had led to my fall from grace, the betrayal that had shattered my spirit, leaving me adrift. Each word I spoke peeled back another layer of the burden I carried, the vulnerability fostering an unspoken camaraderie among us. In sharing our truths, we grappled with our pasts, and I could see the doubt that had clouded Calder's eyes begin to lift. Vesper, too, reflected on her choices, realizing that her hunger for power had cost her much more than she had anticipated. After our time by the lake, we found ourselves making plans for our paths forward. Perhaps it was the outlet of our truths or the shimmering landscape that inspired it, but the air was thick with potential. We would no longer be mere mercenaries drawn together by greed. Instead, we would forge a new destiny. Together, we could rebuild our lives, finding meaning in alliance rather than rivalry. Thus began our new journey, not to seek fortune or fame, but to right the wrongs of our pasts. Calder suggested aiding local villages plagued by bandit raids, and Vesper spoke of lending her skills to those who could not defend themselves. My heart swelled as we brainstormed ways to do good, each idea seeping deeper into our shared goal. As dusk approached, we packed up our camp and trudged forward. The bond between us felt firmer than before, yet I could not shake the nagging feeling that the Silver Grove, in its own twisted manner, had woven us together. It was a reminder of how far we had come and how much still lay ahead. Our first village appeared on the horizon, smoke curling up from chimneys and the sound of laughter floating on the wind. Yet, as we drew closer, a sense of dread cloaked the scene. We could see villagers cowering in fear, clutching their loved ones, eyes filled with trepidation. As we approached, the local chief, a stout man with kind eyes, rushed to meet us. "We are grateful for your arrival, but trouble stirs," he informed us, urgency carved into his brow. "A band of marauders has laid claim to our lands, and we live in fear." My heart quickened. This was our chance to make a difference and test the resolve we had found within ourselves. Together, we stood in solidarity, a powerful force against the shadows of our past and the darkness threatening this place. That night, we devised a plan. Each of us contributed ideas, weaving together our individual strengths. The sun dipped below the horizon, and the villagers joined us in preparing for the confrontation to come. It felt almost bizarre, yet exhilarating. We had become guardians rather than mere rivals. When dawn broke the following day, we stood at the edge of the village, our numbers bolstered by the brave villagers who dared to take a stand alongside us. I could feel the transformation within myself, a surge of purpose like a banner unfurling in the wind. As the sound of hooves approached and the marauders appeared like dark clouds on the horizon, I steadied my breath. What lay ahead was uncertain, but this time, I was not alone. The Silver Grove had taught me that strength could be found in facing oneself, and now, as I faced the marauders, I felt ready to confront any shadows that threatened to consume us. With my new companions at my side, we prepared to face our destiny, and in doing so, I knew we would emerge stronger than ever before. As the marauders charged toward us, the tension in the air reached a palpable peak. It felt like the approaching storm just before thunder rumbled. I could see their rough faces illuminated by the rising sun, their eyes gleaming with greed and malice. They had come to claim the village, but unknown to them, they were standing before a united front forged in the fires of our own trials. The villagers stood beside us, fear etched on their faces, but determination lit a spark within them. I could feel the rising tide of resolve among my new companions. Calder's posture shifted from uncertainty to fierce determination, and Vesper's eyes sparked with a drive I had not seen before. We were no longer merely a band of misfits. We were a team, ready to protect those who could not fend for themselves. Calder took command, recognizing the moment as a catalyst for leadership. He quickly rallied the villagers, giving them simple but effective commands. "Hold the line," he shouted, his voice cutting through the cacophony of noise. "We fight for our home today." As the marauders closed the distance, I focused on the rhythm of my breath, entrusting it to a sense of calm that emerged from deep within my spirit. I could almost feel the ceaseless whispers of the Silver Grove, the lessons it imparted to us swirling in the air like leaves caught in a playful breeze. As the enemy approached, I drew my sword, its blade gleaming in the sunlight, a reminder of the knight I once was and the one I was becoming. I felt a surge of energy course through me with each beat of my heart, bolstered by the camaraderie forged in our shared darkness. The initial clash was chaotic. Steel met steel, shouts mingled with cries of pain. For a brief moment, I lost myself in the chaos, weaving through the marauders with swift precision. Each step was a dance, and with every foe I felt weight dissipating the past I had once carried, fading like distant echoes. Vesper moved like a shadow, her agility unmatched as she flanked the marauders, using their own recklessness against them. She dispatched one with a deft slice, then twisted away, encouraging a nearby villager to join the fray with her combat experience. She embodied the strength of purpose rather than power, and it was inspiring to witness. Calder was a whirlwind, fueled by the heat of battle. He defended our flank with precision, his strikes decisive, as he dispatched attackers one by one. I could see in his eyes a glint of the knight he had once been. The honor that lay beneath the layers of jealousy and regret began to bloom. Even the villagers fought valiantly, wielding pitchforks and wooden staffs with surprising bravery. Their fervor ignited when they saw fellow villagers joining the fray alongside us. We stood together, guardians of a place we had all decided to protect. As I fought, I felt more alive than I had in years. The connection between me and my companions deepened. Each battle cry became a call to arms, not just for survival, but for the vision we had for our future. I glanced over at Calder, who gave me a determined nod, his expression one of unyielding resolve. Vesper's laughter rang out as she taunted an opponent, drawing their attention away from an inexperienced fighter. Yet amongst all the chaos, it was then that I saw their leader, a towering figure adorned in ragged armor who commanded authority, issuing orders that echoed against the tumult. He stood at a distance, watching the fray unfold with a menacing smirk, as if he reveled in our struggle. Something deep inside urged me forward. This was my chance to confront not just an enemy, but the fear and disgrace that had overshadowed me for so long. With fierce determination, I surged through the throng of marauders, cutting a path toward him. My every step was a reminder of my past, but with each swing of my sword, I reclaimed part of myself. He noticed me coming for him and sneered, raising his own weapon with arrogant confidence. "You think you can stop me?" he taunted, his voice booming over the battlefield. "You are nothing but a fool." I could feel the murmurs of the Silver Grove echoing within me, centering my focus. "I am not the fool I was," I declared back, my voice steadied by newfound clarity. "I am here to reclaim what is rightfully mine, not just power, but a sense of purpose." Our weapons clashed, ringing out against the chaos that surrounded us. Each strike felt like a caged bird breaking free, the grace of my movements inexorably tied to the spirit of the grove and the lessons I had learned. With every parry and counter, I felt the shadows of my past falling away, revealing strength I had long forgotten. The battle raged on, but it began to turn in our favor as the marauders began to falter under the onslaught of our unity. Calder and Vesper joined me, their own skirmishes forcing the marauders into retreat. And then, in a surge of adrenaline, I saw my opening. With a final strike, I disarmed the marauder leader, knocking his weapon from his grasp. He stumbled back, shocked that a single defender could turn the tide. "Yield," I commanded, my blade steady, positioned across his throat, an ultimatum stark against the embers of his arrogance. The leader's smirk faded as he glanced back at his retreating gang, fear replacing his bravado. "Very well," he conceded with a sneer. "You may have won today, but I will return." With that, he turned and fled with his remaining warriors, vanishing into the morning mist. The battle had ended, but the victory tasted bittersweet. We would remain vigilant and ready for whatever lay ahead. Cheers erupted from the villagers as they surrounded us, their joyful cries reverberating through the air. In that moment, amidst tears and laughter, I felt a sense of achievement that transcended the fight. We had faced down the darkness together, emerged from the shadows, and forged a connection irrevocably tied to our hearts. As night fell on the village, we celebrated our hard-won victory around a warm fire. My companions and I shared stories and laughter, every word shared weaving us closer together as comrades. The Silver Grove may have tested us, but in the end, it did not break us. We had risen from the ashes and sparked a new beginning, filled with hope and purpose. The light of the fire flickered against our faces, illuminating not just our features, but the bond we had formed. I felt something renewed within me. The night I had lost was slowly coming back. No longer haunted by the past, I now looked forward to a future untethered from disgrace. In the days that followed, we continued to protect the village, forging our path among those who had once only been strangers. Together, we learned that true power lies not in what a person can claim for themselves, but in the strength found in unity and in facing one's past with courage. In every sunset and each dawn, I found beauty, purpose, and the steadfast reminder that together we could achieve anything, even in a world fraught with darkness. The Silver Grove had transformed us, and as we ventured forth, we carried its lessons in our hearts, ready to craft our own stories, forged not just in battle, but in camaraderie and redemption. The days that followed our victory were marked by an unexpected peace, shrouded in a gentle warmth that wrapped around the village like a protective cloak. The villagers began to thrive again, the sound of children laughing and playing filling the air where fear had once reigned. I found myself growing fond of this place, the simplicity and beauty intertwining with the purpose I had long sought. Each morning I awoke with a fire in my spirit, not merely as a knight, but as a protector of something truly precious. Calder and Vesper took to their roles with surprising fervor. Calder took charge of training the villagers in combat techniques, determined to ensure they would never be caught off guard again. Every morning I joined him in these sessions, witnessing firsthand his transformation from a man plagued by jealousy to a true leader worthy of respect. Each thrust of a sword and every sharpened technique he demonstrated were not just for the here and now, they were his methods of redemption. Vesper took a different approach, channeling her earlier ambition into nurturing the village garden, teaching the townsfolk about herbs and healing practices. The bounty that grew there served as a testament to her strength and resolve, metamorphosing her ravenous hunger for power into a desire to protect and heal. Her laughter echoed across the fields, the sound infectious as she encouraged those around her. As for me, I found solace in the role of a mentor myself. Gradually, I began training the younger knights who looked to me for guidance. It felt remarkably cathartic. In passing on my experiences, both light and dark, I found clarity, an understanding that no one was defined solely by their mistakes. Each child's eager gaze was a reflection of my own growth, as I helped them wield the swords I had once clumsily swung in my youth. Yet as days turned to weeks, a chill began to creep into the air, a lingering unease that dulled the exuberance of our newfound life. Rumors of the Marauder leader's return swept through the village like wildfire. His threat loomed ominously over us, casting a shadow that threatened to unravel our hard-earned peace. During one of our evening council meetings, the village chief confronted us, his expression grave. "We need to be ready. We have no doubt he will return with more numbers, looking for revenge." A murmur threaded through the gathering, and I felt unease settle over the space, a familiar tension tugging at my heart like the pulling of a dark tide. Calder, standing tall at the forefront, stepped forward. "We have trained our people. We are no longer the frightened villagers of before. We have the power to fight back. We must prepare for a stand against them." His impassioned words rallied the villagers, and a newfound determination sparked in their eyes. Vesper, too, value shining through, added, "We can use the forests to our advantage. They know this land as well as we do, but we have learned its secrets." I felt the potency of our unity charge the air as we discussed possible strategies to fortify the village. The thought of battle again pulsed in my veins, a familiar drumbeat intertwined with the spirit of the grove and all it had taught me. There was strength in me, yes, but strength soared when shared. Meanwhile, I knew we had to go on the offensive. We needed allies. I remembered the exchanges we made in the neighboring town, not too far from us. Scouts sent in advance reported back that the town had successfully repulsed bandit raids before. It was there I sought to form alliances, gathering those who knew how to fight and those discontent with the Marauder leader. With the agreement of the village council, I set forth with Calder and Vesper. We ventured into the unknown again, our hearts thrumming with the electric pulse of a familiar fear, but also with the vibrant hope of what we had achieved together. With each step outside the village confines, I felt the weight of the forest behind me, the echoes of the Silver Grove whispering new truths. It took time to reach the neighboring village, but when we arrived, I was greeted with wariness. The townsfolk eyed our tattered armors and sun-scratched faces, skepticism thick in the air. I understood their hesitation. I had been them before, mistrustful and fearful of outsiders. Calder stepped up, his stature towering as he emblemized the strength we had cultivated. "We come with urgency. There is a Marauder threat unlike any you may have faced. We seek your help, not for ourselves, but to rid this region of the darkness brewing." The village leader, a stout woman with deep-set eyes that sparkled with wisdom, listened intently. After weighing our words, she allowed us to present our case. We discussed training in detail, shared our experiences battling the Marauders, and sought to forge not just an alliance, but a commitment among warriors who too had faced their own shadows. It felt fitting, powerful, as if we were weaving a fabric of resistance against the adversities that lay ahead. In the end, her consensus was clear. A plan was birthed that bridged our two villages. They trained us in their techniques, secrets passed down through generations, further sharpening our resolve. As days faded into nights, we prepared for the inevitable confrontation that loomed on the horizon. In the flickering torchlight, we forged bonds not just as a shield against marauders, but as comrades bound by a shared purpose. Each moment spent together solidified our trust, and the weight of the past began to shimmer like a distant memory. Eventually, the day came when we received word. The marauders were gathering, emboldened by their leader's desire for retribution. A cold shiver trickled through my spine. This was the moment we had been training for and dreading alike. I could feel the Silver Grove's whispers urging us forward, a tantalizing reminder that strength lay not solely in muscle and blade, but in the unity of purpose and heart. On the eve of the battle, we gathered under a blanket of stars. I stood with my comrades, their faces determined, and the weight of responsibility settled upon us all. "Tomorrow we face our fears," I said, my voice steady but filled with gravity. But we are not just fighting for ourselves. We are fighting for each other, the lives of those we have sworn to protect. The fire crackled softly as we prepared for the dawn of reckoning. With each soul around me, I felt the remnants of the Silver Grove echoing louder, reminding me that the journey of redemption was just as crucial as the battle we would fight. In that moment, I knew we would emerge victorious, not merely because of our strength, but because we had faced our past together and chosen to write a new story, one built on courage, integrity, and camaraderie. We settled into a restless sleep, the weight of the upcoming clash resting heavily on all our hearts, but the threads connecting us glimmered brighter than ever before. Together, we formed an unwavering shield, and in the face of adversity, we would shape our destiny beneath the stars. The dawn would bring either victory or loss, yet I nestled with the certainty that together we had already won. Dawn broke with a stunning brilliance that illuminated the sky, casting hues of gold and crimson across the land. As I awoke, I took a moment to breathe in the calm before the storm. The village lay nestled in the embrace of the morning, the tranquility marred only by the palpable tension of what lay ahead. The camaraderie we had built felt like a tangible shield surrounding our hearts, fortifying us against the fear that threatened to creep in. Calder, already awake, stood near the fire, his face set with determination. He turned to me as I approached, a fire igniting in his eyes. "This is it. We're ready. We have to be ready." I nodded, feeling the weight of our mission pressing against my ribs. "Yes, we will fight together as one. We'll stand our ground and defend what we've built." Vesper joined us, her hands deftly tying her hair back. "We've come too far to back down now. Remember the strength we found in each other. It will carry us through this." After a simple meal shared among comrades, the atmosphere shifted, morphing from solidarity into a steely resolve. We gathered together, each warrior, both seasoned and untrained, forming a unified front. The villagers who had once trembled in fear were now filled with a fierce determination, a fire igniting within them that could no longer be suppressed. They knew the stakes, they had felt the despair of loss, and this time they stood tall. As we marched toward the outskirts of the village, the landscape transformed, a visceral reminder of the battle to come. The streets that had once thrummed with laughter were silent now, as if holding its breath in anticipation of our clash. I could see children's drawings on the walls of homes, bright colors contrasting against the impending darkness of the day ahead. And then we reached the edge of the village, where the land opened up into a field edged by the forest. I could see them gathering in the distance, the marauders, a wild and formidable mass, dark against the rising sun. The sight of them sent a surge of adrenaline coursing through my veins, memories of the last time we had faced them brushing against my mind. This time would be different. Calder stepped forward, assuming his role as our commander, his voice echoing across our ranks. "Today, we defend our homes. We fight for those we love. We've trained for this. Trust in one another, and we will emerge victorious." Cheers erupted from our ranks, and the sound was a symphony of hope that intertwined with the crisp morning air. As I surveyed our makeshift army, I felt the bonds of loyalty binding us tighter, the essence of our shared struggles fueling our resolve. Each warrior, armor clanking, eyes ablaze with purpose, the embodiment of a unified front. The marauders began their advance, their numbers intimidating, but the fear that would have gripped me before was now replaced with a searing determination. As they drew closer, I recognized the marauder leader at the forefront, a figure I had faced before. He strode forth with that same arrogant smirk, but this time, I felt no fear. Instead, it fueled my desire to protect those around me. I turned to Vesper and Calder, a fierce look in my eyes. "We fight together. Remember our training. Every strike counts. We're not just defenders, we are this village's shield." As the marauders arrived at our line, their jeers echoed loudly, taunting us with crude insults. They were underestimating our unity. It would be their downfall. The air was thick with anticipation, and then, with a rapid flare of violence, the lines collided. The sound of metal clashing against metal rang like a battle hymn, a cacophony of grit and purpose. I charged forward alongside my companions, my heart pounding fiercely in my chest, each breath steady as I wielded my sword. I was lost in the rhythm of the fight, moving with a fluidity I had not considered possible. The marauders were fierce, but our training allowed me to anticipate their moves. I could see Calder at work, rallying our villagers, guiding them through the chaos and shouting encouragement as he engaged the enemy with ferocious skill. Vesper flitted through the melee, her movements swift and precise, swiftly dispatching foes while always moving to protect those who were struggling. Amid the tumult, I found myself face to face with the Marauder leader once more. His confidence had diminished, replaced by incredulity as I approached, my sword raised high. "You again," he spat, fury seeping into his tone. "Yes, me again," I replied, my voice steady. This time, we're not the same as before. We clashed, our blades singing a song of fury as each strike resonated with the echoes of my past. Memories of failure and disgrace collided with the fervor of newfound purpose. The Silver Grove's whispers urged me forward, reminding me of the strength born of unity, courage, and overcoming darkness. With each engagement, I felt the spirit of my past comrades wrapping around me, guiding my hand as I fought not for myself, but for every person who had ever faced the shadows. And then, with a final thrust of my sword, fueled by determination and resolve, I disarmed him, the sound of his weapon clattering to the ground resonating like a tolling bell. He staggered back, vulnerability threading through his bravado, and I closed in. "Yield," I demanded, my blade poised threateningly. "You threaten the lives of our people no longer." The Marauder leader's arrogance evaporated, replaced by palpable fear. "You may have won today, but know this, I will return," he hissed, backing away, retreating into the throng of his disbanded forces. Behind us, we heard the wild groan of our fellow villagers, roaring in triumph as they began pushing back the Marauders, enacting vengeance for every act of terror the leader had thrust upon them. With their leader backing down, the Marauders all but fled from the field. For it is true what they say, fight as much as one wishes. But fear of the inevitable can break even the strongest of wills. As the dust settled and silence fell over the battlefield, a wave of exhilaration surged in the air. We had done it, we had triumphed together. The cheers of our comrades and villagers echoed in unison, enveloping us in a sound that resonated deeply within my heart. Amidst the celebration, I turned to Calder and Vesper, pride swelling within me. We did this together. Each of us played a part, contributed our strength. This is more than a victory, it's proof that we are stronger united. Days turned into weeks as the village healed from the scars of battle, each moment marking a step toward growth. We buried our fallen comrades, honoring their memory, and began to rebuild what had once been shattered. The village thrived alongside us, the laughter of children mingling with new plans for the future. We sought out more alliances with neighboring towns, determined to foster strength and resilience amid the uncertainties of the world. In sharing stories, we discovered kindness among the scars, and bonds formed that extended beyond mere defense. As I watched the sun dip below the horizon, casting a warm glow over our village, I could feel the presence of the Silver Grove surging through my spirit, a reminder of the journey I had taken, the bridges formed over the chasms of darkness. In finding redemption, I had also found something perhaps even more profound, a place, a home, among those who had chosen to fight for one another. The journey was far from over, but as I stood with my comrades Calder, Vesper, and the village community, I understood that together we could weather any storm. The future lay ahead, bright and full of promise, and I knew in my heart that together we had become the guardians of this realm, the protectors of light against the encroaching shadows. We would write our own stories and create a legacy of hope that would resonate for generations. In the months following our victory over the Marauders, the village transformed in ways I never thought possible. Where once there stood fear and uncertainty, now stood resilience and hope. We worked tirelessly, but it felt invigorating to build something meaningful alongside those who had become family. I watched as the crops flourished under the care of the villagers, and as the laughter of children echoed through the streets, I realized how precious these moments were. One afternoon, I found myself walking through the village, my heart light and content, when I stumbled upon Calder and Vesper by the edge of the community garden. They were bent over the earth, planting seeds amidst the rich soil. The garden had flourished greatly under Vesper's guidance, not only a source of sustenance, but a sanctuary of healing. "Look at this," Vesper exclaimed, her hands stained with earth as she pointed to a cluster of vibrant green shoots. "This will bloom beautifully. Just wait." Calder chuckled as he wiped his brow. "You say that about every plant. But you're right, things are coming alive here. I believe life has a way of pushing through, even in the darkest of times," I chimed in, remembering how we had once battled against despair in the very same village. Just then, a child scampered past Yusei girl named Leora, her laughter ringing like the sweetest of chimes. She paused, dropping to her knees by the garden and examining a sprouting seedling. "Are you planting magic, Vesper?" she asked, eyes wide with wonder. "Indeed, we are," Vesper replied, kneeling beside her. "Every plant has its magic. They bring light and life to our world." The girl nodded eagerly, her imagination ignited. "Can I help? I want to learn to grow magic too." A warmth enveloped my heart, seeing the joy and innocence that thrived here, now something that had been nearly extinguished. "We all want to learn how to create magic in our lives," I said gently, kneeling down beside them. "But sometimes it requires hard work." Leora grinned, her enthusiasm infectious. "Then let's work hard together." The sight of our community banding together felt monumental, and as I joined in on the planting, I reflected on the rich tapestry of connection we had woven in the aftermath of conflict. I had once strayed from my purpose, cast aside by my burdens, yet here I was, fostering hope with every seed sown. As the sun dipped low and painted the sky in shades of violet and gold, a thought began to grow in my mind, like the plants around us, the idea of holding a festival. Celebrating life, unity, and the recent victories seemed not just appropriate but vital for our community spirit. I gathered Calder and Vesper that evening after dinner, seeking their thoughts. "What if we hold a festival of renewal?" I proposed, my heart racing with excitement. A time to celebrate those we lost, the resilience of our village, and the bonds we formed. Calder's eyes lit up, a grin breaking across his face. "That sounds amazing. We can have games, storytelling, a true reminder of what we stand for." "Yes," Vesper chimed in enthusiastically, her imagination already running wild. "And we can showcase our garden. Everyone can contribute dishes made from the harvest, and it will be a feast." And so, the preparations began. The villagers rallied together, their spirits soaring as we set about gathering materials, crafting decorations, and planning performances. It's a festival that would commemorate the magic of life and the strength of our community. As days turned into weeks, anticipation buzzed in the air. Children poured energy into crafting colorful decorations. Older villagers shared tales of courage interwoven with sorrow, wisdom spilling from their lips like rain nourishing the earth. I felt pride swelling within me as I took part in these moments, each one a stepping stone in our journey toward healing and renewal. The day of the festival dawned bright and clear. Laughter danced among the stalls, artisans showcasing their crafts, and faces adorned with bright colors. Music played, drawing people together, and as I wandered through the festivities, I felt the weight of my past finally lift. At midday, we gathered at the center of the village, where a makeshift stage had been constructed. The air vibrated with chatter and excitement. I stood before the crowd, my heart racing, the community surrounding me, a tapestry woven from countless stories, love, and resilience. On behalf of our village, I began, my voice steady as I spoke. "We gather not just to celebrate our triumphs, but to recognize those who came before us, those who fought for this land, and those who sacrificed for our future. Each of us has a part to play in this tapestry we weave together." Applause erupted, underscoring the truth of my words, and I continued. "In times of turmoil, we learn who we are. We learn that strength lies not just within ourselves, but in the connections we form with one another. Let today be a reminder of hope, resilience, and the beauty that arises from unity." With each word, I saw faces light up, smiles blooming like the flowers Vesper had planted in her garden. The festival rolled on, laughter ringing like a symphony, hearts lifting with every shared moment. Children shouted with delight as they darted through the festivities, laughter blending with joy as they played games. Neighboring villagers who previously nursed skeptical hearts now mingled effortlessly with us, forming bonds that transcended the shadows of our pasts. As the sun sank lower, casting golden rays across the grounds, I took my place with Calder and Vesper around a bonfire that flickered invitingly. The flames danced like spirits woven from tales, drawing us closer in the circle of stories. Each person offered a piece of their heart remembrances of those they had lost, triumphs and dreams for the future. Vesper spoke of our garden, sharing her passion for healing and the delicate touch of nature. Calder shared a humorous recount of mishaps during training sessions that brought forth laughter and warmth. When it came to my turn, I felt the spirits of my fallen comrades surrounding me once again, their whispers guiding me. I am reminded of the journey we took, the shadows we faced, and the bonds we formed. This village is more than just a place. It has become my home. No longer do I carry the disgrace of my past. Together, we have reclaimed our lives, standing shoulder to shoulder against the darkness. As I spoke, I looked into the eyes of those around me, villagers, allies, friends, each face a spark of light against the backdrop of night. Let us never forget what we overcame together, the magic we still hold in the garden we are planting together. The fire crackled loudly, flames reaching toward the stars as if echoing my words. A newfound sense of purpose bloomed within me, a realization that we were more than just survivors. As the night unfolded, performances sprung forth, grappling with themes of love, loss, and resilience. Music soared, laughter surged, and as the stars twinkled overhead, we danced together around the fire, surrendering to the night, celebrating life in its myriad forms. In that moment, I realized that although the shadows of the past would always be a part of our story, we had chosen to cast light upon them. Together, we would continue to weave our tale, creating a narrative rich with courage, love, and the unwavering hope that tomorrow would bring. So we danced until the dawn, hearts intertwined in a celebration of life. In this moment, among comrades turned family, I understood this village was no longer a fading ember. It was a flame that would shine brightly against the darkness, powered by the magic we forged in unity. The Silver Grove had changed me, and now we had all become guardians not just of this land, but of each other, and this would forever be our legacy. As dawn painted the horizon with gentle strokes of pink and lavender, the echoes of laughter from the festival lingered in the crisp morning air. The night had felt eternal, each moment a celebration of resilience and hope, and as I gazed around at the remnants of our revelry, I felt a deep sense of gratitude swell within me. The villagers were beginning to stir from their slumber, yawning and stretching beneath the soft light of day. I found Calder and Vesper already awake, seated near the embers of the bonfire that had dimmed during the night. They were exchanging stories, their faces glowing with the warmth of camaraderie and joy. "Good morning," I called as I approached, the happiness of our shared previous day sinking into my bones. "I think the festival was a resounding success." "It truly was," Vesper replied, brushing her hair from her face. "I feel as if we turned a page in our story. There is a new spark in the village." Calder nodded, a satisfied grin plastered across his face. "People are already talking about making this an annual event, a time to remember and rebuild." As the sun crested higher in the sky, illuminating the village with its golden brilliance, I joined them by the fire, our hearts warmed by the memories of the night before. The village buzzed with energy as families began cleaning up the aftermath of the festivities, laughter spilling out like confetti through the streets. After some time, I suggested we take a stroll to see the village in the soft morning light. Together, we wandered through the streets, exchanging greetings with villagers, the ease of familiarity palpable in the air. Flowers in the garden stood tall, their colors vibrant, a testament to Vesper's efforts and the love our community had nurtured. As we walked, I noticed a figure approaching from the outskirts of the village, a tall, lean man, dressed in worn leather, a scar running along his jawline that hinted at a life spent in battle. The atmosphere shifted as he drew nearer, an air of caution surrounding him. Calder instinctively shifted into a protective stance, while I felt the familiar flutter of tension in my chest. "Who are you?" I called out, trying to gauge his intentions. The man halted a few paces away, his posture relaxed yet firm. "My name is Rowan," he said, his voice rich and steady. "I come from the neighboring town of Eldenwood. I heard word of the festival and the strength you wield here. Curiosity piqued within me. What business brings you to our village, Rowan?" "I've traveled far," he continued, "to offer our aid. News of your victories has circulated beyond these borders. The marauders you defeated have been regrouping, and they threaten not just your village, but others in the region." I seek to unite all of us against them, harness our strengths, and prevent further bloodshed. I exchanged glances with Calder and Vesper, the gravity of Rowan's words settling heavily upon us. It had been a while since we had felt the looming threat of marauders, and this news sent a ripple of apprehension through my veins. The desire to unite against a common foe resonates with what we've built here, I said. But we must carefully consider our next steps. What sort of help can you offer? Rowan leaned closer, lowering his voice as he shared his thoughts. We have trained fighters who have lived through their own battles. If you allow us, we can bolster your defenses and collaborate on a plan to eradicate the marauders once and for all. The prospect of forging such a partnership filled me with hope, yet invoked caution, the memories of our previous struggles still fresh in my mind. It will not be a simple alliance. We must build trust among our people, and they have to be resistant to past shadows. Trust is built on shared experiences and a common cause, Rowan replied with earnestness. I understand the weight of your concerns, but I have seen the strength of your village. You have done remarkable things together. If you will allow us to stand beside you, we can create an alliance that will not only defend our homes, but also foster lasting bonds. Calder stepped forward, his resolve solidified. Let's bring him back to the village. We need to consult the council and the villagers. If we are to face this threat, we will do so together. With a nod of agreement, we turned back toward the village, Rowan following closely behind. The air was thick with potential, and I felt the echoes of the Silver Grove thrumming in my chest, reminding me of the lessons I had learned, the importance of trust, the strength of community, and the necessity of forging bonds in the face of adversity. As we made our way to the village square, I gathered a small assembly of villagers, including the council members who had guided us through many trials. The crowd murmured with curiosity as I introduced Rowan, outlining his offer and the concerns that had driven him to seek our alliance. Fellow villagers, I began, standing tall before them, we have fought hard for what we have. Each of you has contributed to our strength, and we stand united against any threat. Rowan comes with an offer of alliance against the marauders who seek to return to our lands. While we must tread with caution, I believe that joining forces with others who share our cause is worth considering. The crowd absorbed my words, whispers weaving through those gathered. Rowan stepped forward, his tone earnest. Together we can defend our homes, share knowledge, and ensure that no child here knows the fear of losing everything again. A debate ensued, voices rising, some villagers eager to engage while others held doubts. I felt a wave of concern rise within me. I knew the shadows of distrust could easily cloud judgment. Yet I had seen the power of unity firsthand, the strength formed through shared hardship. The choice is yours, I said, speaking from my heart. But I trust that we can leverage our strengths and build something beautiful amidst the fear. We have awakened a spirit of resilience here in our village. Let's not allow the marauders to sunset that flame. Gradually, a consensus began to form. The villagers spoke among themselves, weighing the gravity of Rowan's proposition against their own experiences. After a collective discussion, the village chief rose and addressed the gathering. I believe this alliance has merit, he declared, his voice steady. We must embrace responsibility not just for ourselves, but for all those who would stand against darkness. Let us invite Rowan and his people to aid us. Strength is found not only in numbers, but in the bonds we forge together. Cheers erupted amid the crowd, a sense of hope igniting anew. Together we would cultivate a deeper connection with Eldenwood and foster strength that would resonate throughout the region. In the days that followed, Rowan integrated himself into our community, sharing stories and experiences and earning the trust of our villagers through shared work and common goals. We began training side by side, exchanging combat techniques, healing practices, and strategies for defense, a melding of our strengths born from adversity. As the responsibilities of our new alliance settled in, I felt a renewed purpose in my heart. The echoes of the Silver Grove reminded me that every step we took together forged a path into the light. We were standing not just for ourselves, but for the hope of tomorrow. But even amidst the hope, I knew that the specter of danger loomed on the horizon. Preparations for the marauders would have to continue, and vigilance would be key. Together, Eldenwood and our village began to form a united community, ready for whatever dark tide might come, armed with the magic that lay in unity, resilience, and trust. And as we trained, fought, and worked alongside one another, the dawn of a new chapter opened before Yusei chapter, filled with promise and the unwavering spirit of guardianship that would define our legacy. Together, we would face any shadow, and amidst the challenges, we would emerge stronger than ever before. The roots we planted would ensure that hope would continue to flourish, nurturing the dreams of tomorrow. As weeks melted into each other, the alliance with Eldenwood grew stronger. The new relationships forged weren't merely tactical. They blossomed into a tapestry woven with friendship and mutual respect. The lessons shared between our villagers and Rowan's people were invaluable. We trained harder, pushing one another to be better, to build a strength that would see us through any storm that threatened our peace. During training sessions, I often caught glimpses of children from both villages laughing together, Eldenwood's young warriors mixing with our own, taking the weight of the world off their shoulders, if only for a moment. Their laughter buoyed our spirits, allowing us to remember that there was still joy to be had amid the preparation for battle. One sun-drenched afternoon, I found myself in the meadow with Calder and Rowan, arms raised to deflect the blows of practiced swords. The sparring practice was proving to be more pivotal than I ever expected. The clashes of wood echoed through the golden grass, a sound I took great comfort in a rhythm of resilience. Rowan's movements were commendable, swift and precise. Calder matched him each step of the way, both fierce and focused. In this newfound camaraderie, crafted from our alliance, I felt a deep sense of purpose. We were not just training to defend ourselves, we were training to protect our families, friends, and the ideals we stood for. As the sun began to sink low, casting long shadows across our training field, I called for a break, wiping the sweat from my brow. "What do you think our next steps should be?" I asked, looking between the two of them. "We know the marauders will not sit idly by. They will strike again. We need to be prepared." Rowan took a thoughtful breath, his brow furrowed in concentration. "I propose we study their pattern stake note of where they've struck before, understand their strategies. If we know how they think, we can counter them more effectively." Calder nodded, his brow knitting in agreement. "We can send out scouts to gather information. Reinforcement through knowledge is just as crucial as our training." "Then let's assemble a scouting team," I said, feeling a spark of energy surge through me. "We need people who know the land and can move unseen." The three of us gathered for a brief moment, delegating responsibilities as we set our plans into motion. With every detail lined up, I watched our alliance solidify with purpose. No longer would we be merely defenders of our own villages, we were now protectors of a shared future. Days later, two teams were formed, one to scout enemy territory and gather information, and another to focus on defensive preparations. I found myself leading the scouting party alongside Calder, Vesper, and a few trusted warriors from both villages. The gravity of this mission weighed on me, but the camaraderie and collective strength of our united front provided solace. As we traversed the familiar paths of our surroundings, I felt revitalized. The woods seemed to breathe with us, enveloping us in the gentle rustle of leaves and the soft calls of distant birds. Every twist and turn brought a sense of purpose, a reminder of the lives we aimed to protect. After several hours of careful navigation, we reached our destination, a ridge overlooking the valley where the marauders had once assembled. From our vantage point, the landscape spread before us like a canvas, whispering secrets of the land. We settled into our positions, cloaking ourselves behind the underbrush, awaiting sight of the marauder camp. As we kept watch, I felt an exhilarating wave of anticipation. What if we discovered something that could change the tides of our battle? Unity over the years had molded these bonds, and I was ready to take action not just for our villages, but for the future of every innocent life caught in the shadow of malice. Hours passed as we observed hidden among the trees, adrenaline surging through my veins. Even the sounds of clashing blades and ragged laughter carried on the wind, echoing a distant reminder of the battles yet to come. Finally, as dusk began to cloak the world in its beauty, we spotted movement, a group of marauders preparing for a raid. Their camp appeared disorganized, but there were enough of them to send pulses of concern through our ranks. "We need to move, gather information, and leave quietly," I whispered to the team, the urgency lingering in the air. "Get a sense of their numbers and see if we can discern any strategic plans. We cannot let them know we're here." Creeping forward, we moved as silent shadows among the trees, using the natural cover to hide our presence. I dared a glance at Calder and Vesper, who gave subtle nods, silently affirming our intent. It felt as if the world held its breath, stilling in anticipation alongside us. We circled the camp, careful to stay beyond the flickering firelight, listening intently as marauders spoke in low growls, their words painting a picture of their intent to strike at both our village and Eldenwood in a coordinated attack, likely taking advantage of our underestimation of their regrouping. Their plans rippled through me, igniting every fiber of my being. I turned to signal to Calder and Vesper, urging them to retreat cautiously. As we crept back toward the trees, my heart thrummed with urgency. The hope we had woven began to harden into determination. Once in the safety of the forest, I breathed deeply, revealing the gathered knowledge within me. We must return quickly and alert the others. We have limited time to formulate a strategy. We know their plans, and we can't afford to let them encroach upon our homes again. Calder nodded, taking the lead as we raced back through the woods, hearts pounding with the weight of our mission. Each step felt like a countdown, a rhythmic reminder of the battle soon to come. When we returned to the village, the sun had set, leaving behind a deep indigo sky that twinkled with stars, a stark contrast to the urgency hidden within our hearts. I gathered the council, Rowan, and our warriors in the village square, urgency hanging heavy in the air. "We have intel on the marauders," I announced, my voice commanding attention. "They plan a coordinated attack to overwhelm us. They intend to strike both our village and Eldenwood, utilizing our perceived weakness against us." Gasps rippled through the crowd while Rowan leaned forward. "Then our response must be calculated and swift. If we fortify both villages simultaneously, we can stand united against them." The council and warriors weighed the options, voices raised in discussion, ideas volleying back and forth. It became clear that we needed to transform our fear into strength to outmaneuver the tactics they intended to use against us. After much deliberation, our strategy solidified. We would create defenses along the borders of both villages, using natural barriers where possible while building traps and fortifications designed to slow the marauders' advance. With the warriors from Eldenwood and our own villagers working side by side, I could feel hope flaring into an uncontainable blaze. The night faded and was replaced by an ethereal dawn, which illuminated the tireless work we had put into preparing our defenses. Our focus was unwavering, the village brimming with a renewed spirit. As our final preparations took shape, I felt the energy of these moments settle deep within me. "This is our moment," I said to Calder, Vesper, and Rowan as we stood together, overlooking the joined defenses. "Together, we will not falter. We will protect what we have built." Rowan nodded, his eyes filled with fierce determination. This will be a new chapter for both our villages, one forged in strength and resilience. And as the light crested over the horizon, it marked not just the beginning of the day, but the approach of the battle that would define us. United, our hearts beat as one, ready to face whatever would come our way. The echoes of the Silver Grove surged within me, intertwining with hope and the spirit of guardianship, not just for ourselves but for the lives we vowed to protect. With each breath, I felt the weight of destiny upon our shoulders. The shadows would come, but we would stand firm, a formidable force forged in unity and unyielding spirit. Today, we would show them who we truly were, a community unbroken by adversity, guardians of light against encroaching darkness.